what Henry said. Henry was right. The word there in Proverbs 4 it's a Hebrew word, and it's lab, L-A-B-E, and it means keep my word in the midst of your feelings. Well, I just felt so wronged. Really? Well, who hasn't felt wronged? Who hasn't been wronged? Who hasn't had evil done to it? Wrong spoken of it? Things taken from them? Everybody. Are we going to live by our feelings? You hurt my feelings bad. Really? I'm sorry. Well, I ain't taking your apology. I'm not going to do it. I ain't going to forgive you. Okay, just keep your chickens. You want to live or you want to die? These aren't lucky stars. This isn't Murphy's Law. This is obedience or lack of to the truth that sets you free. And it says, for they are life to those who find them, healing and health to all their flesh. Oh, well, I read that and I said, you're not stupid anymore. You wasn't the brightest kid in the class. You weren't valedictorian, but you weren't that far down. And I figure here, what do I want to do? Do I want to hold grudges and hatreds and animosities? There was a kid, I was in the 9th grade. Now, these things don't go away, you understand? Just because you grow up and they grow up, that doesn't mean that they go away, because these events get into the spirit. And I played on an undefeated football team my 9th grade year, and so the coach invited us all over for a sledding party down at his house. Had hot chocolate and all kinds of cookies and stuff. And we're sledding down the hill, and there's this kid who was in one of my classes, but he's older than us, wasn't on the football team. He's up throwing rocks at us, so we're going down the hill. So I pulled my sled back up the hill, and I said, what you throwing rocks at me for? He said, you want to make something out of it? And then all of a sudden, I remembered. He was a trained boxer. Boxed at county fairs. I said, no, not really. I just didn't think it was nice that you were throwing the rocks at me. He says, well, I think you do want to make something out of it. I said, no, I don't. And he pushes me. And then he decides he's going to hit me. And I'm doing my best to block it off. I never threw a punch at him. I just tried. But he pounded me to a pulp. I had a black eye, cut lip, nose was bleeding. So I straggled back down when he was done beating on me. I straggled back down to the coach's house, and coach's wife kind of fixed me up, and I went home. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part, I had to go to class the next day, and he was in my class. And I kind of sat in the back of the room, and he sat up front. And I came walking in, and he turned around like, I see it, just like it happened yesterday. This has to be 50 years ago. He looks at me and smirks. Instantaneous hatred. Not dislike, murder. I would go to bed at night dreaming this dream while still awake. I would go to my granddad's work site. I would get myself a 2x4. I would make it about that long and carve the bottom down into a handle. And I would walk down the halls of the school the next day. And I'd see him coming, and I'd say, good morning, Lee Dotson. Boom! I wanted to do that. You know when I got free of that? It was at a Masonic lodge in Vineland, New Jersey, and I was 30 years old, and I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. There was so much garbage went out of me that night. I no longer hated Lee Dotson. But it eats. Give it up. You're just like the monkey that they caught by putting a jar there and stuck fruit in there, and the monkey reaches in and grabs it. Now he can't get his hand out, but he won't let go of the fruit to live. Let go. Don't be some monkey that's caught to be somebody's dinner. Let go of it. Just let it go. Right? There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to be nasty to you and ugly to you. But remember, you are in life. You are to rule as kings in life. Get inside the life bubble. All right, now, it says, don't let God's words, keep them in the center of your heart, in your feelings, in your will. It means your will, your feelings, your will, your intellect, up here where you're thinking, the center of anything. It is your wisdom. Keep God's words in the midst of your feelings, your will, your wisdom. Why? Because you want to build a life. You want to build a long life. You want to build a good life. You want to build a home. You want to build a family. You don't want the poison that's in you going down into your children. You don't want to be the Hatfield and McCoys. What a wasted situation that was, where one generation passed down to the next generation the hatred, and then their children died, and their children's children died. Now, look, for these words, they're life to those who find them, healing and health to all their flesh. Do you realize there are people in the hospitals because they won't give up their hatred and their animosities, and they won't forgive people? They're in there dying because they're like their monkey, they're hanging on to that. Keep and guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all that you guard, for out of it flows the springs of life. Put away from you false and dishonest speech, and willful and contrary talk put far from you, that your eyes look right on. Now, turn real quick back to Proverbs 3. It's just one page back. Now, these are building blocks of a life worth living. Think of these as the walls and the roof and the beautiful chandeliers and the gorgeous floors. And you're building this family. You're building this life. You're building this house. Okay? And it says, my son, forget not my law or teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of a life worth living. Hello, we did this not too long ago. There's a lot of people who live a long time, but their life isn't worth a hill of beans. It's an awful life. They just lived a long time. You want to live a long life and make it a life worth living. All right, for length of days and years of a life worth living, and tranquility. Let's have a little peace about ourselves. Inward and outward, and continuing through old age till death. Hello, old age. Oh, Shirley and I, we were over at the Walmart here. And there was a lady there that was one of those greeters, you know. Did I tell you this? I might have told you this. And she was a sweet lady. Sweet lady. And Shirley starts talking to her on the way out. And she says, where do you live? She said, I live in Bridgeton. I've lived there all 64 years of my life. This lady looked like she was a withered prune. And I'm with my instantaneous brilliance. I said, 64 and 63, that's only 1 year between her and me. Now, I don't look like a withered prune. We had the privilege of going up to Sister Veter's funeral with Brother and Sister Kenyon Friday. Ann Veter passed away. I tell you what, Brother Kenyon doesn't look like a withered prune either. He looks pretty good. He's had a lot of fights. I don't think he'd be out of order. He said to me, he said, Woodson, he says, if you ever see me getting bitter, tell me. He said, don't let it happen. I said, okay. 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 If you ever see me getting bitter. See, Henry doesn't bother telling. He tells me stuff. If he does. If he sees me getting out of whack, he just tells me. But that's friendship. That's iron sharpeneth iron. Better are the wounds of a friend than